Viewers of my channel and my Discord community are not surprised by this move at all. Not only has Bitcoin followed my predicted price path over the last 10 days, so that I drew over 12 days ago now, it's followed it to a T, but I've been pretty bearish since December, since we had that fake out to the upside. I think it crossed 50K or whatever. I was yelling fake out to the downside. And what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to mainly go over the idea that it's an either or, with the base assumption that capitulation is going to happen between May and September, right? Based on my origin wave theory video that I released. I can link you to that at the end so you understand months and months ago how I predicted that something like this was going to happen exactly on this month or through September, right? I'll link you to that at the end. However, what we're going to do here is, even though I think it's slightly probable, just barely probable, that today is literally the very first day of capitulation, and that it's going to continue for the next several days, and it's going to get hot, and it's going to accelerate to the downside. I think it's slightly probable, just a tiny bit. I'm going to go over targets, which you should know the targets already, the easy targets for new viewers. But then at the end of the video, I'm going to show you what could delay a capitulation, where it almost turns into a 2018 bounce, and then it tanks after a few more months, leading to a capitulation closer into the late summer. Let's go over both those cases and let's capitulate together. Come on with me. That's not very professional, Tim. Let's capitulate together. That is too close to copulate. All right. Okay. Take note that I have made videos that kind of stuck with the viewers that cross bad. So you could even probably search my videos. Just type in cross bad Cosasverdes. Cross bad. I've been yelling about this for a long time. I mean, it's been months. It's just whenever this red gets close to the purple. So this red is the weekly 10 EMA. And this is the 89 weekly, or the weekly 89 EMA. 100% of times so I'll just call it the red and the purple now. When the 100%, when the red gets close to the purple, price always goes down to the next, which is the orange line actually. It goes down to the 200 EMA and wicks below it. And it happens usually right as the red is getting close to the purple or squeezes price down. That's what creates the down move every single time. One minor exception in 2013 bear market, it wasn't a true squeeze play. Price actually was just falling too fast, where it didn't look like these EMAs actually technically squeezed it. So there is sort of an exception there. I'm going to put myself in the top left. Regardless, though, it's still 100%. So without exception, though, it is true. As red gets close to purple, price tanks below the purple and goes down to the next line. Which is not shown, which it'll be orange here in a minute. It goes there every single time. Here, I'm going to put price back on. Here, price seemed to have based off the purple, which is the weekly 89, had a fake out rally, and then coronavirus. And people said, no, it wouldn't have happened without coronavirus. Well, then why, before coronavirus was even a word, or not even a word, it's been a word for a lot longer than that, sorry. There are a lot of coronaviruses. Before it was a word used by hundreds of millions of Americans, I already had my orders down here for 4,800 to 5,200. How did I have that before this happened? If it wasn't, it was going to happen anyway. It might have happened just a little bit later though, but it might not have happened on that exact day. However, it was bound to happen, maybe just slightly later and then recover. But red got close to purple. So therefore, since it's 100% play at this rate, this was, a fake out. You could interpret that as fake out, and then capitulation happened. So red got close to purple, and then fake out, but it still capitulated after red got close to purple. I've been talking about this for some time, and I've even used better visuals such as the 5-day EMA fill, which is roughly the same type of cross. So let me take these off. Right there. I've been talking about this cross bad for a long time. This is the 5-day chart, the 21 EMA. 21 is yellow, the 55 is blue. On the 5-day chart, I'm on the 5-day, 5D right there. It roughly crosses at the same time. This is just an easier visualization. It typically marks the second half of the bear market. And this cross happened February 15th. And then it's marking the second half of the bear market, just like I've been predicting and trying to shout and scream. And I even made a funny video with music and all that stuff, and tried to like show the candles moving and everything, showing you how aggressive this can go to the downside. And it's happening now. And so we already know the targets for the downside move. Roughly throw on the 200s of the weekly chart. So I'm actually going to use the daily chart. I will take this off, but I will throw on the weekly EMAs using actually, will I? I will change this to to orange. And nope, I will go to the weekly. It's going to be a lot easier like this. So this is where price goes every time, at least 100% as of now, that red gets close to purple. Look, red got close to purple around here. Where did it go? Straight to where the orange would have been and wicked past it. Red crossed purple right here, which exactly marked that capitulation. I could put those back on if you don't believe me. All right, look, watch. Did you not check? So I accidentally made that orange. I shouldn't have done that. Check this out, watch. Look, it's perfect. Zoom into this. Look, 2018 capitulation. It's perfect. Go to the, look at that. It got it exactly. It's a perfect squeeze play, right? All right, so let me zoom back out. And that initiated exactly it going down to the bottom orange line, which is the MA. The dull one is the 200 MA of the weekly, and the bright orange is the 200 EMA, exponential moving average, simple moving average. Some people say SMA, but I just say MA without an E. Moving average. Once again, red got close to purple, eventually had fake out first, but it wicked past both oranges. Here it did not wick past both because there was some separation. But when they're together, both times they've been together, Bitcoin wicked past what both of them would have been right there together, right? It wicked past them. So do we either have separation or do we have them together? Well, they are separated right now. So it's likely, in my opinion, that price comes all the way down to here and stops just shy of 21K. Because everybody's going to want to long 20K. So I think I think the big dogs are either going to buy back before Bitcoin gets to 20K. So people can't long there. Maybe exchanges is included, like literally using their capital to buy Bitcoin so people can't long. Or it'll overshoot this and wick past and go something down to like 18.3. So these have been my targets. I've been talking about this for quite some time. It's just what happens in Bitcoin. You don't try to ask why necessarily. It's just know that it does. Asking the why comes later, but the first step is to understand it simply just happens. It's statistically likely. You have an edge. It's probably going to happen. So why are you thinking it's different this time, holding on to your freaking altcoins? But Luna, I mean, it's still going to be effective. It's probably going to hit $30 when this is all said and done. It's not different. It's not going to be different. It's not. And I know it's painful for some of y'all who, it's hard to believe people when you're newer to this. But I have been screaming about holding tether, and I've been talking about capitulation for months and months and months, more regularly than probably any, I don't know, almost any content creator that I can find. I don't want to make, superlative claims to that, but anyway, I've been among the loudest of that, right? Even making, editing videos with music, trying to get people to see how nasty this could get. All right, so that's one. Capitulation is starting now. We're literally headed straight towards that dull orange line. Just shy of 20K, just north of 20K. Option one. However, what could happen here if I take off these EMAs, and that would be happening in May and June, right? So yeah, as this month goes along, week, and then recovery, hang out down here, and then recover slowly. So I would say mid to late May to early June, that is maybe the most likely option. The second most likely thing still involves capitulation, but Bitcoin does some bounces on this area, which if I take off more EMAs and I remove this, so you see how this coincides with all those, actually it might be easier to see on the daily chart. Yeah. You see how much activity is down here? Look, all this base of support, and it's hitting that area. And so a lot of times what happens in capitulation is you will have some sort of support just below as you're capitulating, but you blow right through it. As of now, I do think it's slightly, just barely, but still probable, over 51% or more chance. It looks like it's going to blow through this. We've already talked about that. We already know the targets, viewers on my channel and Discord members. However, I think there is one other case that is, I don't know, it's probably the second most, it's likely the second most probable here, is we get some bounciness on this pad, and if I take this pad off and put on my macro range that's not tilted, you can see that it's simply the bottom of this macro range that dates back, 14 months in the past, when Bitcoin came up from 10K straight to 40K. This is the 40K and then a 30% correction, and then Elon tweeted about there, right? It could bounce here like this and come all the way back up to this line and still be hyper bearish at 38. So if you see Bitcoin get up to 38.5, it's still bearish and it's still statistically likely to capitulate. I'm telling you, like as in math, you can't argue with it. I promise. But if that does happen, you're going to see Twitter saying, that's the bottom, I told you so, and all this crap. No, you didn't tell anybody jack shit. It's still statistically probable. When the statistics start changing, in my humble opinion, is when Bitcoin can maybe come up, use this as support, and then get into the point of control zone up in the low 40s. That's when the probabilities begin not even favoring, but begin leaning the other way, where it's not strongly probable to have capitulation this year in 2022. Maybe. But you need to you both use this as, so not just blow past this line, this 38.1 line, not blowing past it. If you blow past that line and go straight in here, it's still more probable to capitulate. I'm telling you. If you go above 38, use 38.1-ish as support, or 38.3 roughly, 38.3 as support, and then visit the 42s, it might be a 50-50 chance of capitulation. But not until then. It's still more probable that you get capitulation this year until that specifically happens. But if you do get a bounce, it's going to be a big bounce if that were to happen. And I'm telling you, it could easily happen. I'm actually anticipating this as the second most likely scenario. I'm telling you, it's very possible to happen. All right. Among all the, myriad possibilities, this is probably a strong number 2. And it's barely behind number 1, in my opinion. But yeah, you could see it come all the way up to 38, maybe even scream up to 39 to 40K again. Come all the way back up here without using this as support specifically. You could just go boom, 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 chill out in here, and then go bam, right up to even 41K, and then come straight back down, smaller bounce, and then September, kablam. So there has been a time where Bitcoin has done something similar with the 6,200 line, which is right here. This was all of this is 2018. The dead cat bounce land. So if like you were playing Mario Brothers, it's like Tube World or the Giant World or whatever. Like that's its own level, right? Like if you are trying to remember how Bitcoin has behaved over 12 years, this is one level in Mario Brothers, which it's called the dead cat bounce. So instead of a swimming world or water or ice world, you have the dead cat. You have cats falling from the sky and dying, and if you get hit by one, you die, right? Or you shrink or whatever if you had a mushroom or a fireball or a tail. So this is the dead cat bounce world. Dead cats falling from the sky. And I'm a cat person, so sorry if that's sensitive to some people, but come on. It's called dead cat bounce. And it could do something like this. I don't know if it'd go that high. 40%? Yeah. I might have to stretch this down a little bit, but we'll see how this works. 40% in the past, without stretching, it should be less than 40% here. Oh, look at that. Ta-da. It actually, I did not plan that. Exactly. That was perfect. That worked. Okay, that was unplanned. That was a celebratory moment. I probably shrank this down a little bit. I think it's going to capitulate a little sooner now. Maybe something to that effect. There you go. Yeah, it could capitulate in August or July because this 32K area kind of holds on. And you might even be able to like bring this down a little bit, like it floats past, and it never truly uses this as support is the key. So when it comes down and closes a day and then recovers, in that moment, it did not use this specifically as support is probably what you're going to see. And what happens there is when you have a base level and you see price dip below it and not use it as support, then come up, You statistically have an edge that as it comes up after missing that as support, it's going to make a lower high. That's how ranges work and supports work. If you go below it and don't use it as support, I'm telling you, as it comes up above, it's statistically likely to be a lower high. Could that have been a fake out? That happens sometimes, and then it races up. It's happened, right? It happened back in late July of 2021. But thank goodness, that was one of the very few calls during the Wyckoff distribution pattern that I got right. And I anticipated that because I could see it coming from a mile away. And it was exactly to the day, exactly as I was thinking. However, it was one of the few things I got right during that very tricky time when Bitcoin was clearly not following mass market psychology. It was being controlled essentially to a specific algorithm printing a specific shape, and it was very confusing. But let's take a look at this here though. This doesn't seem where it's going to be confusing. The stock market's tanking. It could also bounce, and this would be something similar to on NASDAQ here. Check this out. I was going to make a standalone video, but anyway, take a look. This is NASDAQ futures, okay? I have the blue line in the middle on purpose, and I have these dashed blue on each side for a reason as well. Take a look at this chart. This is NASDAQ futures. This was the dot-com bubble. It went way too high, and then here it went a little too low during the housing market crash, Lehman Brothers crash, the recession that essentially the United States banking sector, with its unmitigated risk-taking, caused a global recession, or contributed to it, or was the catalyst/stimulus for it. And then it went below, and then it came straight up to where? When it gets too high, it goes straight down to where? The mean, the average. The blue line is the average. When it gets too low below it, it'll zoom right back up or charge up to the middle. When it goes too high, it's going to charge down to the middle every single time. That's how it behaves. There aren't any exceptions, and there might not ever be for a long, long time until a new median is developed. But as of now, it is the median. Price got too hot because of stimulus packages and financial or quantitative easing is what it's called. Wall Street having a party. It got too far above this blue line. It's going to probably hit 10K. Yes, I said it. NASDAQ Composite Index is likely going to hit 10K, and it's because price went a little too far above it. It's likely going to dip below it. Very likely. It's probably going to hit 9,800 and 9,600. Only for a few days is what my guess is. It just goes back to the mean every time. That means it's got quite a long way to go. Look, this journey is just beginning. Well, it's actually gotten to this top line. So it's right at, let's actually zoom way in there. It's pretty close to here. So it's got to come here, have that bounce, most likely. It's likely going to bounce on this line, I'm telling you. Right? Just like it was resistance here. See that? It failed it, right? Just like this, look. See? Bounce, 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 lower high. Did it use it as support? Or no, bounce, lower high. Did it use it as support like I was talking earlier? Lower high, because this blue line was not used as support right there. Can you see what I'm looking at? Look, it did not use it as support. Therefore, it's statistically likely going to be lower high, and then it went straight to where? The next line down. These lines work. Origin lines work on NASDAQ. And, I mean, I might be the only person on earth who views charts like this, or specifically the NASDAQ. I would be surprised if I'm the only person on earth. But anyway, it's probably going to hit down here. So Bitcoin's got a long way to go. If NASDAQ has how much more to go, I'm going to say a wick past, 22% more, Bitcoin's got a bit to go. And here's the cool thing about this, though, folks. Two things. Is you could easily get a bounce on this line before it continues down, and that would be the bounce scenario on Bitcoin that I just patted myself on the back about, right? That could easily happen, and it aligns perfectly with this chart. Okay. But the cool thing about this is that as the traditional markets get another 22% down, here is my thought. And I don't think there are statistics behind this because it's never happened. So I'm not going to make claims to, oh, it's statistically probable or anything, because you can't run numbers on it. I could pull it out of my ass if you want. I can just make something up. But all right. But anyway, my thought behind this is if or when, let's say pseudo when, NASDAQ goes down another 22 to 25% here over this year, I think Bitcoin will have already reached levels where people capitalize on cheap Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's going to start going up before that's done correcting. And Bitcoin is finally going to separate from fucking stock market. That's what I think is going to happen. I've been saying this to my Discord for quite a while because they've asked me what happens if. Oh, this is happening. This is the cool thing about it. I think this will have Bitcoin get so low, or maybe not 14K or anything, but very good deal, that Bitcoin starts raging straight up to 40K again or 38K or something. People see gains on Bitcoin as they're, this is going to get institutions and retail back into crypto. Like potentially, I'm telling you, because if they see gains in crypto while all this shit's falling, it's going to cause a flood. Both institutions, trading desks, and retail are going to go to crypto potentially. Will it happen in 1 week? No. It'll be so floods, they don't start out exactly with the water rushing towards your face, right? Or tsunamis or however. First the water goes back, and then you see a wave way out there. Hopefully you never see a tsunami in real life, right? But you've seen them on videos or in movies. It'll be like a flood/tsunami. It takes a while, and there's a process to it. So I wouldn't expect that overnight. But I think that is the one. If we can look at stock market getting crushed and Bitcoin getting crushed along with it, I don't think Bitcoin can get crushed as long as the NASDAQ will, because people will buy that crap up. I'm telling you, there's way too much demand for Bitcoin, and there's supply squeezes. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe down to 14K on a nasty wick, maybe. But all those other like 9K and 2 and 3K people, I think that's unrealistic. Just in terms of human psychology, where people are going to buy, people are going to scoop up Bitcoin and make it bounce hard way before those levels. Way before those levels. And it could create a nasty rush on particularly Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically, which would lead off some type of market. And what
give me
if
that
were to happen?
thumbs up.
Oops.
Thumbs up.
Well, I didn't actually mean to hit that, but give me a thumbs up anyway. What that could mean is, let me go back to Bitcoin, is if something like that were to happen, you would have to sell into that first. It would probably be a mega rally, and it might look like something like early 2019, where it raced up from 3,200 to 14K. This was not because of necessarily institutions and retail people, but I don't know what this was. This might have just been a giant. It's trying to probably bump its head here. Everybody shorting. This might have been one giant short squeeze from here. So you can see how this section right here bumped its head on this box. Do you see that? Came straight up to the box. Everybody started shorting, and then cascaded short squeezes. Did it again. People thought they were geniuses, shorting this horizontal right here, and this horizontal right there. So people started shorting again. Shorts piled up because the CMEs were kind of new at this time. CMEs came out. Futures trading came out around, I don't know, sometime over here, 2018. And people shorted again, and another. It's like a double short squeeze is what this was. However, instead of a double short squeeze type of anatomy, what it would be is what I would guess would happen if my analysis of NASDAQ is anywhere correct, and my guess about how Bitcoin would separate itself from NASDAQ if that were to happen. It would probably be something as major as this without necessarily short squeezes in play. And if there are people stacking on shorts on top, it would just exacerbate the effect of the move up. It could be a rush to Bitcoin plus short squeezes, and it could really fly, folks. Especially if my guess is correct, which I cannot put statistics and math behind it because it's never happened, right? This is more of a fundamental guess on how Bitcoin is going to behave and how it's treated in the global aspect, right? And that's what I got for you. So our targets, both when and where. If you missed my origin wave theory, so you might want to watch that video so you can see how I anticipated a drop at this time to exact levels months and months ago. Go ahead and click that video right there. And if you missed my previous video where I showed you how prices follow my path almost exactly, it's kind of weird, like a magician, go ahead and click this video right here. You just got Timified Worldwide. Peace.